Everything from clothing to household items are getting more expensive each day. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. Support American-made, tariff-free clothing with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.
In a so-called free state, officials and stakeholders concoct solutions to problems often created by other bureaucrats and with little regard for infringements on the people. These stories are born at the apex of freedom and entrepreneurship. We foolishly advocate for the taxpayer. Brian's Beat presents Freedom Fools.
As the eagle flies, welcome to another edition of Freedom Fools. I am the lead fool. Welcome to the program today, and we've got a jam-packed program for you, and I'm glad you're with us. We say goodbye to Jose and say hello to Wendy in just a bit. But as I like to say, yes, I am for the Saturday Freedom Fools. I know the feast is going on. And I know they're serving a lot of food over at the feast. Just thought I'd let you know that today is National Mustard Day. National Mustard Day. It's also Taxpayer Appreciation Day. And for all the money we pay, I got to tell you, I don't feel appreciated. Interesting that it would be Taxpayer Appreciation Day. The formal, and I do mean formal, I don't mean they were wearing tuxedos or anything like that, but the formal signing of the Declaration of Independence, it actually happened on this date in 1776. Now, as a taxpayer, are you feeling appreciated? Yeah, I know the answer. The first U.S. Census was taken, actually began on this date. The final numbers, 3,939,219 people, plus 697,624 slaves. Got to remember, slaves were not people back in the 1790s. And that leads to the Brian's Beat quote of the day: amateurs practice until they get it right. Pros practice until they can't get it wrong. Amateurs practice until they get it right. Pros practice until they can't get it wrong. Swoosh. That's a Nike. That's a Nike for you. Coming up next week, it's going to be a very busy week for our guest in studio today and for a lot of people, hopefully, in the backyard. The public hearings on the whole South Coast Renewables plant begin on Tuesday evening, 6:30, over at the Pulaski School, and Wednesday, same time, and Thursday, same time, 3 nights, and there may be more. In fact, I know there is one, I believe, on August 26th. I'm not quite sure of the actual date, but the numbers dealing with South Coast Renewables, read that as parallel products, are pretty darn devastating, aggravating. Think about it. If you live in that section of the north, I'm calling it part of the far north, but only a part of the far north. But that area, if you're driving, what's it, Church Street?
And Phillips Road.
And Phillips Road, thank you. That's a good swath of land right there. And if you're heading north on your left-hand side, is going to be where this whole South Coast Renewables plant will be. And it is apt to have up to 1,500 tons. So that's 30,000 pounds of all kinds of trash, on trucks and whatever, carrying it into that area and out of that area. Now, keep that in mind as we talk to Wendy Morrell about that today. Wendy, I want to thank you very much for coming back into the studio. Welcome. Hello.
Hello. Thank you again for having me, Brian.
No problem. So I think it was, 3 or 4 weeks ago you were here, and we were talking about this, but now
It's on.
It's right. It's on. It's crunch time.
Yep.
Have you had any discussions? Would it even be appropriate to try to talk to any member of the Board of Health prior to the meetings that are taking place starting Tuesday?
I will say this. We've been advised by external counsel that it is within our right to have those conversations and to have a line of communication with them. We did not initiate any such thing because we were concerned about impropriety or a sense of impropriety or perspective of so it's about perception. So we didn't do that, and instead, once we knew the Mass DEP approved this, like officially, because it's not like we didn't know that was happening, we organized. We put some information together, and we submitted that information directly to each of the members of the Board of Health within our rights to do so, and sent them to them directly, not to just the business address, but to each individual member of the Board of Health, as they are, appointed representatives of this community, and they are charged with protecting the health and safety of this community. We've heard nothing back. And in fact, I think it's worth noting that when we did put together those materials and those packets to provide them with some insights and information that we understand, we've been researching this for years. This is relatively new to them as far as the depths of what we've looked into this.
They must have heard something.
I'm
though.
sure they have, but not to the depths that we've, researched this. But we put this all together, and I also even tried to create an electronic version of all of that material so they could get it by email. And as of the date that Mass DEP approved this, the 3 members of the Board of Health didn't even have email addresses linked to their appointments. Nothing.
Really?
Yes. Nothing on the website. Nothing could be found. ChatGPT couldn't even find it. There are no email addresses for these folks. So about a week later, I look it up again. Still can't find anything, but I look in ChatGPT. Oh, here they are. Okay. I send them, and I get error messages back. They're not active. So you have notified the community that you are having hearings. You have notified the community that they have the right to participate in these hearings, but you don't have active email addresses. So
I would take that as, if they're having it at the Pulaski School, they have no idea how many people might even show up to the Pulaski.
Right. I think it's important to establish a timeline as well. All right. The Mass DEP issued their finding on the 7th, July 7th. The Board of Health had it on their, we all monitor the Board of Health website, the New Bedford City's website, everything. They had mention of the Board of Health hearings on the 15th. An email went out to the community, anybody who had a vested interest and had signed up for these notifications. An email went out to the community from the director of the Board of Health on the 17th. So they knew on the 15th that they had the hearings dates and everything all set up, location and everything, but didn't notify people till the 17th. And then in that email on the 17th said, if you'd like to participate in the process, either as this or this or this, whatever, let us know, come to the office, or send an email to this email address by July 22nd at 5 p.m.
Really?
Yes.
That's kind of tight.
So you have the 17th to the 22nd, 2 of which are weekend days. So 3 business days to sign up.
Do you think that this is just happened that way, or
No.
do you think this is something that was intentional?
This is intentional. And I understand that they have a small window of time, but they have the right to request extensions, and they have not done that. So they are putting this crunch on the community who will be detrimentally impacted by this facility every single day if it gets approved and is operating. On top of that, okay, so I'm one of the people who submitted on the 22nd. I want to be a participant. I don't have standing, so I can't be an intervener. There's certain metrics you have to meet in order to be an intervener, and I'll happy to explain. The metrics are where you live or where you work has to be within a certain distance of the property, and then you have to be impacted by it in certain ways. So I live in the West End, so I don't meet most of those criteria. However, I do, as a resident of New Bedford and the public, have the right to be a participant in the proceedings. So I registered as a participant on the 22nd before 5 o'clock. I got an audit response back with a link to the regulations and basically confirming they received it from me. The next day in the afternoon, I get an email saying, you also need to fill out this form and submit this to us. Why wasn't that form included in the first email? What are these games? Really? And then the hoops that people have to jump through in the community in order to even be part of the process. And then the Board of Health, the hearing officer decides who can and can't speak and whatever. But in the meantime, I'm just going to put it out there. South Coast Renewables / Parallel Products, their attorney, is doing everything he possibly can to block as many people from participating in this process. The community members, the interveners, the participants, the attorneys that are representing them, motions constantly to exclude testimony, motions to exclude evidence, expert witnesses, all of that.
Really?
You cannot be a worse neighbor. Sorry. You want to come to the table saying you're a good neighbor. That's not a good neighbor. If you truly believe that your project is not going to harm the community, you're going to be a good neighbor, this isn't, they don't have anything to worry about, then you wouldn't have a problem with them coming to the hearing and voicing their concerns, because then you would be able to relieve their concerns. You'd be able to, to let them know, oh no, you'd be able to address each of their concerns and say, no, you don't have to worry about this because this is what we're going to do. If you care about the community and you want to be a good neighbor in that community, you should want to hear their concerns so that you can address them.
Yeah, I would
instead of shutting them down.
I would tend to agree with you. They want as few people there as few, especially on the. How many people in the community are really going to go to this meeting and say, yeah, I can hardly wait for you to come here. I'm going to be one of the 75 people that will get a job.
Right.
How many?
Right.
3, 4, 5?
At the most, yeah.
So I tend to agree with you. It's a sad reality. But I know we talked last time about the mayor and city councilors. Are you getting any reinforcement from them?
The mayor is, crickets, like he has been all along. He started off in our favor and standing strong with us, and then made that backdoor deal. I know that he believes, or at least he says he believes, that he did that in our best interest because he doesn't think he can stop it at that level. So he thinks he's putting in conditions that would protect the community. But when you read that community agreement, it really, first of all, you negotiated a host community agreement without the involvement of or consultation of the community. Hello. And then second.
That's not uncommon.
Yeah, I know. But at the same time, he was supposed to be working with us. He knows who to contact. He has our contact information. He's reached us before. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse. So you deliberately excluded the group that has represented the 1,500 plus residents in that area for the last 5 years. And the host, if you were doing it actually in good faith with the best of intentions, you wouldn't have done it behind closed doors and then had a press release and blindsided us with your press release. And I've seen better host community agreements, so that was poorly executed, in my opinion. We're not worth roughly $800,000 a year in tax revenue. That's what he negotiated.
He negotiated keeping the sludge out.
No, we did.
Oh,
he likes to take credit for that, but that was already off the table well before that, and we know that because someone from Parallel intimated that with our connection at CLF back in the day.
And what about the jobs? Is that something you guys were in on, or is that something that Parallel Products said yes to automatically, the mayor?
I think that was negotiated with the mayor, but it's our stance, and it has been our stance all along, and that hasn't changed, that there is 75 jobs is also not worth the health and safety and the property values and everything else that's compromised for the 1,500 plus residents that live in that area and the 3,500 other employees in the business park that are put at risk by a project like this.
Wendy, the meetings are starting. Let me open up the phone lines in case anybody would like to hop in on this. 508-996-0500. Conservation Law Foundation, they considered appealing, and then they decided not to. Mm-hmm. How's that making you feel? They're supposed to be on your side.
They are on our side. From what we were told, and I'm still not 100% clear on the details of it because I wasn't privy to it. I wasn't part of the conversation. There was a conference call held with some of the powers that be before the deadline to appeal. And what I was told, and I don't know how accurate it is, what I was told is that because the Mass DEP's decision is really just a recommendation, it's not a permit approval, there is no recourse for appeal.
Okay, because
it's
they're
not
not the final say.
It's not done.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that means that we go, and then when we get to the point where they're issued a permit to operate and construct, that's where the appeal is. I don't know. That was what my takeaway was. I don't know that makes sense because had they been denied at that level by the Mass DEP, SCR, Parallel Products, they could have appealed. So but I mean, I guess at that point it would be final for them. So I think that's where the difference is, if I understood it correctly.
Well, this is all confusing in and of itself.
That's by its very nature. Mm-hmm.
Good point. So let's look at Tuesday. That would be August 5th.
Yes.
First night. Mm-hmm. Expecting a large crowd,
I
small
hope so.
crowd. You hope so.
We need the public to show up in droves. Even if you're a member of the public who's not comfortable speaking, who doesn't want to speak, you don't have to speak. You need to be there to show support and solidarity with the other members of this community who are willing to speak and who are fighting for this community. We're asking those who do show up to wear white in solidarity so that we can see, it's kind of dark in Pulaski, so the white will show up better in the audience. And the reason why, so the 2 days that are the most important for the masses to show up are Tuesday, the very first day, and Thursday, the third day, which is the 7th. So on the 5th, the reason why is because at that point, if there's a huge showing and a huge interest by the public, if the attorneys request an extension or additional days for the public participation element, that will validate and justify the need for that.
Whose attorneys?
See, the Conservation Law Foundation.
Okay.
The community's attorneys.
Okay.
I know that because the way I'm just going to be honest, we have 4 days scheduled right now, and according to the agenda, the project proponent gets day 1, day 2, and half of day 3, and then the public gets the second half of day 3 and some of day 4. That's not equal.
So let's back up. You mean the proponents, I'm going to just say the parallel products. Okay.
Yeah.
They get the lion's share of the discussion.
Yep.
And so if that's the case, somebody's listening right now, they might be thinking, well, if we're not going to be able to talk on Tuesday, why should I show up on Tuesday?
Because they need to see the bodies in the audience to prove that what we're saying is the public needs more time. You need to grant more time. You need to grant additional days. That will prove it. If they don't show up, that negates our stance that we need more time. That the public, not that the public deserves it.
I know you're saying it right now.
I'm trying to. We're trying to get that message out. And then the other part of that is, say you're a member of the public who's never been comfortable with speaking, or you don't know that much about this, or you don't know enough about it to speak to it. I completely understand. There's a lot to it. It's very complex. But if you go to day 1, you'll hear enough from the project proponent themselves to be more informed. You might form questions, you might form concerns just based on what you hear from day 1 that you haven't already heard. And then on day 3, when it is opened to the public, you don't even have to get up and sit there and speak if you don't want to. However, those who want to will be able to. So those are the ones that should absolutely be there on day 3. But additionally, you can submit your comments in writing until the end of this hearing. So until the 26th, basically, the public has the ability to submit comments in writing.
When you submit comments, are you submitting them to the Board of Health?
Yes.
Are they submitting them to you?
No, not to us.
Okay.
No. I mean, they're welcome to share them with us if they want to.
Well, if they sent them to you,
they can CC us.
Would you be able to have them read at the meeting?
I mean, I suppose we could. Yeah, I mean, so I'll share with everybody now our email address so that if they want to CC us on anything so that we're in the know, or they want to send us something, or they just want to ask us something, or they want to be added to our email list, whatever. It's info@scnu.us. So info@southcoastneighborsunited.us. So you can reach us that way for anything. We also have a website, scnu.us. So all the information.
Try to keep it easy, because when you get all these letters, people, what was that again?
Yep.
And we will repeat it again.
Yes.
508-996-0500. What's plan one on Tuesday evening? First of all, the meeting starts at 6:30 at Pulaski. Still going to be daylight out. What time does a Wendy show up?
At least 6 o'clock, if not earlier.
Yeah?
Yeah. To stand outside and greet people as they show up.
What are you handing folks?
Share information. We have flyers about. So we're going to share. I'm going to share it on today's show. But we're going to share this flyer that talks to what people should really know about this process, and in layman's terms, not reading you regulations and rules and laws and stuff like that. But
428 new vehicle trips per day.
Yes.
Which could include 278 truck trips.
Right. And when you think
That's a
about,
lot.
well, and you think, so you're, and they've all been, thanks to the host community agreement, directed to take exit 7. They can't.
Braley Road.
Yes, they can't come up Phillips Road, which that's great. They shouldn't come up Phillips Road. There's people who run and walk and kids who stand outside waiting for buses. But now exit 7 is going to be congested, more congested than it already is. And I think about the people who live on that side street that runs parallel to to the exit ramp, like right across from Dunkin' Donuts.
On the right-hand side?
Yeah. Their backyards face that.
Yeah.
And I just think about idling trucks sitting there with the emissions from the diesel engines just permeating.
Well, doesn't that
their
happen
backyards.
already with all the other trucks that go
Of course
into
it does, but
that
let's
office park?
let's multiply this by what?
Well, I don't know,
trucks,
but we
200 plus trucks a day?
We can just add, you don't have to multiply.
Right.
278.
Right. A day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And when you're talking about, they're not delivering 24/7, so and I'm not saying we want them to, but that's not spread out. It's more condensed to the hours of operation that they're allowed to come and drop off. So 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, I believe, and then 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. So that's 200 trucks within those hours. So, and I know it's in the host community agreement. Well, we're going to try to get them to not come during this time and that time because it's rush hour and school and blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, okay. Right. Good luck with that.
Well, I mean, good luck to the drivers, because if it is during school, they're going to get stuck. But then so will the school buses and whatnot.
Right.
Are you worried so much about the traffic, more so than, let's say, the smell?
We're worried about everything. I mean, I think trucks are a big one, but our number one priority, especially in the light of recent events, is fire. The risk of fire. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When they've already had a fire over there from the solar panels. But looking at E.L. Harvey's recent fire and the rat infestation that's ensued since then, and now we have residents directly across from Parallel who are seeing rats running through their backyards. Where are those coming from?
Did not know that.
Right. And the Board of Health had an inspector come out and look at their property and the properties next to them. Can't find any burrows. So they're not living on their properties. Where are they living?
Down at Harvey, they're taking the trip up.
Right. Or are they across the street already? It's the nature of these operations.
I was going to say the operation in a park like that. Sure.
Right.
I mean, it's a huge area.
Right.
Huge area.
So we're concerned about vermin. We're concerned about vectors. We're concerned about fire. We're concerned about the fact that Pine Hill Acres has one road in and out. So if there's a fire, the people who live there have to go towards the fire to get out. How about what's in the fire? How about the resources it takes to put out the fire and control the fire and the nature of those fires? First of all,
let's
go ahead.
Keep it right there for a second.
Yep.
The mayor has insinuated that there might be brownouts because of budget cuts.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there is a far north fire station. I'm not sure where the next fire station is from there. If you are reasonably worried about fire, that doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't. And when E.L. Harvey had a fire, they had 9 rigs, over 40 firefighters. 2 other towns had to help, hazmat. So, and that's not in a thickly settled neighborhood. That's not.
No, that's more of an industrial.
Exactly.
Business park is too, but the business park is right there,
Right.
nestled in a neighborhood.
Right. Especially that specific location, that address. It's within 500 feet of the closest residence.
I know this sounds like a stupid question, but sometimes you have to ask it. And that question will be, what are the chances of you actually winning this argument? We'll get your answer when we come back. Freedom Fools on WBSM. We will take your calls at 508-996-0500.
Your current situation is not your final destination.
If you think that Israel pumping salt water into the tunnels is going to end this war, then that means you haven't been paying attention to what's been happening here.
Welcome back to Freedom Fools. Brian with you on a Saturday afternoon. Wendy Morell in studio, talking to us about the public meetings that are coming up starting on Tuesday, dealing with South Coast Renewables. You can, if that name is a little foggy to you, think Parallel Products and what they want to do over at the business park. I asked a question going into the break, Wendy, and that is, with so many forces seemingly against you, the mayor and his deal, conservation law, however way you want to look at it, at this particular time, they did not put up a stink right away. And the lawyers for the other side fighting against you. How winnable is this whole thing?
Well, I think the most important thing is for people to understand what power the Board of Health holds. Okay, so I don't know that everybody is aware, but the Board of Health is an independent authority and is not bound by the Mass DEP's report. If the Board of Health finds, based on evidence in the record, that the facility could constitute a danger to public health, safety, or the environment, the Board of Health has a duty to deny site assignment. Additionally, the host community agreement between Parallel and the mayor's office is unrelated to this proceeding. And so it also does not bind the Board of Health, nor do its conditions dictate or apply to the outcome of these proceedings. So I've heard people say, well, they're scared that the city's going to get sued if they issue a denial. And the host community agreement specifically states that the mayor's office will not oppose the project. The mayor's office cannot force the Board of Health to fall in line with that. They are their own independent governing agency. And so if they issue a negative site assignment, that has nothing to do with his host community agreement. That's his.
And what happens if they issue a go-ahead?
Then it moves forward to the next phase. There's a bunch of other phases that they have to go through with regards to permitting.
So if things go wrong, that's what I wanted to get at. If things go wrong this time around, there are still other opportunities to fight this.
We will continue, but this is the best and most feasible phase at which we have the chance to do the right thing.
And if the Board of Health votes with you guys and against Parallel Products, what are their options?
Parallel Products will most likely appeal it. But history tells us that whatever the Board of Health's decision is at that point, no matter who appeals it, generally speaking, it's never overturned. Because if whatever determination they make, it's generally with the evidence that's been given to them, and therefore there's a basis for their determination. So it's incumbent upon us to provide them with the evidence that they need to show that this project has the potential to be dangerous to the community, to the environment, to the health and the safety of everybody.
And we're going to talk about that info that you have that you plan on presenting with the small window of time that you are given out of basically 4 days of testimony. Take a call or two?
Sure.
508-996-0500. Welcome. You're on with Wendy.
Hi. I wanted to talk about how long it would take a fire truck to get to the industrial park or the business park. The city paid money 10 years ago, and it was called the Facet Study, FACETS, and you can find it on the city website under a link for fire. and they estimated that they could get to another fire in 4 minutes, but it would take 8 minutes to get to the business park. And that was 10 years ago, before all the extra development. So it's a real concern. I live in Pine Hill Acres, and I don't know how I'd get out if there were a fire there.
Well, let's find out from Wendy.
I don't have the magic answer for that.
Does anybody?
Run towards the fire. Good luck with that.
Wow.
I mean, honestly, we're talking about a community with a lot of our most vulnerable members of this community. We're talking about people who are retired, who are home. You're talking about children. We're talking about people who are already dealing with, the struggles of respiratory ailments and things like that. A facility like this in such close proximity is only going to endanger them and aggravate those things and make them worse.
Caller, I don't think that makes you feel too much better, does it?
I don't have good news.
It doesn't.
So
but I wanted you to hear that answer.
I'm glad that you called, because you're the type of person that Wendy is going to want to be at that meeting. I'm going to be on the radio, so I can't get down there to Pulaski, but I'm encouraging you and many others to get to Pulaski.
I will be there.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Let us continue. Wendy Morell in studio with us. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
She was saying there was only one way out of Pine Hill Acres. There's more than one way out of Pine Hill Acres. There's like 3 or 4 streets you can come out of Pine Hill Acres. So I don't know what they're talking about. One street, you got to come out one street. That's in. I know tons of people that live there. I mean, and I've been there 1,000 times. And there's like Hillcrest Street. You got Blueberry Street. You got also Pine Hill Drive. You got Woodridge Drive that you can come out of. There's not just one street you go in and come out.
Wendy?
But anyway,
go ahead.
Okay.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, and then also, I mean, you seem to think about the development that's across from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes.
What about the development that's right across? That's right where the business park is. When you're coming down Phillips Road, the houses, the backyards are right there where it's the glass and the cans are already being done over there.
Oh, I agree. When I mentioned the neighborhood that I mentioned about across from Dunkin' Donuts, I was specifically talking about the impacts on them of the trucks idling on exit 7 for however period of time they're waiting to get off of exit 7. That's all I was referring to with that. I'm concerned with every element and every single person that this affects.
What about the ones that are coming off exit 5, the trucks?
They're not supposed to be coming off exit 5. Don't worry about that. Parallel is going to find them if they do.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's part of the whole community agreement.
So in other words, they're going to find the trucks that are coming to...
that are coming from the companies that they have contracts with.
So in other words, the Fox is going to get paid to watch the hen house.
Correct. Because it's not going to fall on the police.
Well, the police are going to be busy.
They're busy, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, that's part of the host community agreement.
When did that change about exit 5?
That's in the mayor's...
They always talked about Phillips Road.
Right, because we put up a stink about that. So that was built into the host community agreement between the mayor and Parallel Products, that the trucks bringing waste to that site have to take exit 7. They're not permitted to travel on Phillips Road.
Well, I know at the beginning, until now, I've always heard about Phillips Road, about all kinds of trucks coming down and everything else.
Yep.
That's why they repaved the whole Phillips Road.
Right.
So, do you live in that area, caller?
Yes, I do. I live right, not Pine Hill, but it used to be called AJ Lane. It's right in the middle. The second exit of the business park, there's a second exit, and I live right there.
Okay.
So the reason why I'm asking, he seems to know that route. You were saying earlier, and I remember when you guys were in about a month ago, that you said the same thing about the same thing. Only one way in and one way out.
Right. And I'm trusting Mike, because I know Mike, who was here with me and is a member of the group, lives on Pine Hill Drive. I have gone through there. I'm not like, trust me, I've gone back there and I get lost. I'm like, where am I? I can't get out. Help. But I know that there is a one way in, one way out for Pine Hill Drive itself. And then it goes further deeper into like other streets and other little developments. And I know that there's other streets further down, and I don't know if I think those are separate neighborhoods. I don't think that they connect. I don't think there's roads that connect between them. So
there's four. If you go down Phillips Road,
yep.
You come to Pine Hill Acres. There's 4 streets that go into Pine Hill Acres.
Okay, Pine Hill.
4 streets. I lived in this area for 40 years. I've been in Pine Hill Acres tons of times over my 40 years, and it hasn't changed yet. There's 4 streets that go into Pine Hill Acres. There's a lot more streets that are in there. Yes,
right.
There is. Just like my development is it's two ways out, and one way in and out. There's another one like north and south. There's different ways to get into my development.
Right.
Just like the other one, the other development up the street. Also, there's 3 developments here.
Right.
There's not just one way in or one way out. It's more than one way.
But it is one. There are 2.
You go by Phillips Road. You come down from where Muldoon's is. You come by. You'll see the streets.
Yep. Yeah, they're on the right.
Hillcrest, Pine Hill, Birchwood Drive. There's 4 streets there. You can go in and out of Pine Hill Acres.
Okay.
I wouldn't be telling you if I didn't know.
Caller,
I believe you.
Are you going to be able to make the meetings this week?
Yes, I will.
Great.
All right, good enough. Thank you much.
The
Quickly.
fire station on Acushnet Avenue was like 5 minutes to get to the business park.
That's the one I know.
But that's not open every day.
Oh, yes, it's open every day.
I believe that they were limiting the different hours at different stations and days.
Yeah, well, I've never heard of that. I mean, if that's not open every day, where's the next fire station going to be to come to?
That's what we're
my area where I live,
and that's what we're concerned about.
Davis.
You know where it is? It's Tarkin Hill Road. And by the time they get here,
Tarkin Hill,
down to the ground.
Okay, right.
Yep.
Caller, thank you very much.
Brian, nice talking to you, buddy.
No problem. Thank you. So, heard a couple of things, Wendy, may or may not be of help to you. One is, if you're going to present something about the ins and outs of Pine Hill Acres, get it down because I don't recall, and I used to drive a cab.
Yep.
I know that area surface mind, but I don't know every little left and right.
Right.
So you might want to get that down. The other thing is the hours dealing with that fire station. Because...
Well, I used to live...
I think that's huge.
I used to live in Freetown, and I drove by that all the time. And it's been a while, that fire station. It's been a while since I lived there, but I know that at the time that I lived there, I would drive by, and there were days that was closed.
Well, it always looks kind of closed.
No, it would have a sign saying closed today.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I have never seen that. I can't even imagine a fire station saying closed today. I'll take your word for it.
I remember seeing that.
But... I'm not saying
that's accurate now. I'm just saying I remember that. So, as far as the streets, I'm taking it on the word of the residents that actually live inside those neighborhoods, and several of them are members of our group. I do know that going into Pine Hill Acres, there's the first turn, and then you can take a left and go in and then come out further up, closer to Parallel Products. I know that but that's what I mean by one street. I don't mean one street just in. I mean, it's still one street. It has 2 ends to it, but those are the 2 ways in and out of an entire development, just for Pine Hill Acres.
Eventually, you have to come back to that one street to get out.
Right. And I think that's what they're all scared of.
Well, I think there's reason to worry about that.
Yep.
And I think that needs to be made plain to the Board of Health. I have no idea what the board is going to do.
People need to keep in mind that these aren't regular fires. This isn't like an electrical fire or something was ignited because of a cigarette. These are fires that, first and foremost, can be caused by lithium-ion batteries, by vape batteries, things like that. And these kinds of fires, they're not treated the same way. They can't run in and put it out. It doesn't work that way. They have to...
You can't take a hose and hose it down.
What they have to do is contain it. So they'll use the hoses to contain it while it burns out. Because the firefighters themselves, their lives are in danger. They can't run towards it because they don't know what else. It's waste. It's solid combined waste from residences and commercial use. So you don't know what else is in there that could combust. So they can't run towards it. That's why E.L. Harvey's fire, they had people there monitoring overnight for hotspots, all night. So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. It's not a regular fire. So in addition to the danger of the fire spreading, what's burning? Trash.
What's going up into the air?
Hazardous materials. Because whether anybody likes it or not, they can say, well, we're not taking hazardous material. People throw away hazardous material because they don't take the time to educate themselves and separate it. We know that's true. You can't deny that. It's going to be mixed into that waste.
So I'm going to come back to the Board of Health in our final minutes here on the program. Are we talking about an elected Board of Health or an appointed?
Appointed.
3 members?
Yes, to represent over 100,000 people.
3 members appointed by?
The mayor's office. And ultimately the city council.
What organization, I'm going to say organization, who's responsible for nominating the members on the board?
I believe the mayor's office is. And then the
who's
city council
responsible
finalizes
for that host agreement?
The mayor's office. I know. You're connecting the dots. Don't think I haven't already. But that's why I cannot stress enough that the Board of Health is its own independent governing body. It's literally managed by the Massachusetts Association of Board of Health.
It might be its own independent body, but who's pulling the strings of that body?
I understand that. What I want to say is this. The members of the Board of Health took on these positions, these roles, and I don't care who appointed them. They have to be mindful of what they're charged with and what the costs are of their decision, period. And I would rather know that I protected a community and did the right thing and risk no longer being appointed than that's a higher priority. And if that's not your priority on the Board of Health, then you should step down. You should resign, because that's disgusting if that's not your priority.
Let's try to get one more in before we take a break. 508-996-0500. Thank you. You're on with Wendy Morrell.
Hi there. I would think that the rat problem that we've dealt with recently for the health department would be a DEFCON 5 already before they get into Parallel Products doing, expanding or doing more. I mean, Parallel Products only has like 6 facilities around the country, and I always kind of question, why is that? If there's so much recycling going on, why is there only 6 facilities? We had the same issue with Freetown. You mentioned you lived there. I lived there till recently in Assonet, and they put in a metal grinding plant in Assonet near downtown. And, when they're grinding all this metal shavings and dust are getting in the air, and they're floating into the local homes around the area. So you wouldn't think it's a rat problem or like a health problem. But, yeah, there's a lot of people complaining, and, these companies get, approved to come in, and, on paper they show everything is perfect. But that company in Assonet right now is
the reality is
blowing,
different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, blowing steel in the air.
And how many fires have they had?
I've seen 2. One of them looked like a volcano. I mean, it was just like, wow.
Mm-hmm. You said it. These things look good on paper, and they reassure them left and right, and the money. And then at the end of the day, who's left holding the bag every time? The residents.
Yeah, some of these areas need to be strategically planned, not just, hey, New Bedford's kind of a place that we could get into because low cost if people don't give a crap. Mm-hmm. I think that, if you can truck in the garbage to be recycled, you can truck it to another place.
Exactly.
It's kind of simple stuff.
Exactly.
So, anyway, good luck with it.
Thank
Talk
you.
To you later.
And you're correct about the rats. That is another issue that we've addressed in our concerns with the Board of Health, because there's so many layers to that. It's not just about the inconvenience of an infestation of rats. It's about the diseases that bring. And then it's about their treatment. So how do you get rid of them? You poison them and you kill them. Well, what else are you poisoning and killing in the process? Because there's an ecological impact that people are not thinking about. And then when, we won't even talk about owls, birds, your pets, feeding off of them while they're dying and decomposing. What about the rats that get away from those and then are decomposing in our woods and in our rivers and our streams? Where's the poison from their bodies going? Into your groundwater, into the stream.
Well, you're doing a great job for my appetite right now.
No lunch for you today, Brian.
Yeah. It's our, the important thing is, and I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to spend the last couple of minutes getting to the important thing is what you brought up about a half hour ago, and that is getting bodies over there.
Yep.
Butts in the seats.
Yep.
We'll get into that when we come back. Freedom Fools on WBSM.
We don't believe in integration, but we do believe in brotherhood.
If you're on my social media, you see it every day from people that are responding back with what I consider is clearly anti-Semitic kind of messages on social media.
So the first meeting dealing with parallel products, South Coast Renewables, and the public and the Department of Public Health is coming up on Tuesday evening, 6:30, over at Pulaski School. I mentioned it earlier, Wendy, and thank you for coming in today, that the difficult task is getting butts in the seats. And I think you know that. You already have some people over at the feast.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going?
So we had people at the feast trying to hand out flyers last night, just try to get people informed and hopefully generate some attendance. And thanks to the commuter rail and promotions, widespread promotions, there's more. They encountered more people from out of town than locals. And I mean, everybody would be welcome to this, but the people who will be impacted the most are the ones that should really be there. And that would be the locals.
When you say locals, certainly the city of New Bedford, but Dartmouth and Acushnet, all these
South
other
Coast.
towns.
I mean South Coast. I don't mean just New Bedford.
Well, are you so? In other words, people from Dartmouth, people from Acushnet. Well, Acushnet it can be really close, or it could be far.
Right.
Fairhaven. Are you reaching out to some of these other communities?
We have all along. I'm going to send out an email blast this weekend to let everybody know. We wanted to make sure that. I mean, we could have done it, a little further in advance, but things are subject to change. We don't know. We didn't know what the itinerary, the schedule would look like, and we don't want to waste people's time. We don't want people to come to something like this and it be all for nothing, because then you lose them.
But don't you think they're going to feel that way when they get there and they don't realize they cannot speak until Thursday? Thursday. Thank you.
Yes. So that's why it's important, though, because if they do not show up on Tuesday, then the window to speak will only be Thursday. If they show up on Tuesday and there's a good showing on Tuesday, the lawyers that represent the community will have a stronger basis to request additional dates, which wouldn't happen until probably after the last scheduled date, which is August 26th. They would probably happen after that. So there would be some time. So people could form their thoughts, form their comments, become more informed on the issue. I think that it's really kind of a more exploitive situation to have these hearings at 6:30 at night until 10 o'clock at night in a predominantly working class community where people have other obligations. So I know that, and this is what they do. They're going to go, oh, look at, there's nobody here. Nobody cares. No, they're trying to live and survive.
So, you know what? Can you hold on? I got to go into the news. Can you hold on a little bit afterwards? Because I've got people that are trying to call in, and I know they want to talk to you about this, and, we got bills to pay over here.
I can stay.
So I want you to keep in mind what you just stated, and hopefully I'll remember the exact question when we come back, because if I ask the question now, there will not be enough time for you to answer it, unfortunately. So let us pray.
Let us pray and pay some bills.
No, we already paid the bills. We got the news coming up.
Right.
And we'll let that bill pay itself.
Okay.
Pardon me, I had to cough right there. All right, so the first meeting is coming up on August 5th. Second one.
Support American-made tariff-free clothing with American Giant. They aren't affected by tariffs because their clothing products never left the U.S. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.